I plan on playing Dungeon Crawl Classic solo play soon. I was asked by a few friends of mine what it's like and how it differs from modern Dungeons and Dragons or even old school D&D. This video will be narrated by this AI voice and cover the introduction and character creation at level 0. The core mechanic. The core mechanic in the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game is the D20 roll. You will frequently be asked to roll 1d20 and add or subtract modifiers. The goal is to roll high and beat a difficulty class or DC. Sometimes the DC will have specific terms such as an armor class or AC, which is a combat variety of a DC. A higher DC is more difficult to beat, and a better armored creature has a higher AC. If you roll equal to or higher than a DC or AC, you succeed. Otherwise, you fail. A roll of 1 is an automatic miss and often results in a fumbling failure of some kind. A roll of 20 is an automatic hit and often results in a critical success of some kind. Occasionally, a character may roll a die other than 1d20. When acting, 1d16, 1d24, and even 1d30 are used for weaker or stronger warriors and spellcasters. How is this game different from what I have played before? If you're familiar with the more recent versions of the world's most popular fantasy role-playing game, a TTRPG does not use proficiency bonuses, advantage, and disadvantage, specific skills, or spell slots. So instead of advantage and disadvantage, the player might roll a die with more sides, a larger die, or one with fewer sides, a smaller die, depending on if circumstances favor or hinder them. You could roll a 1d12 to hit an opponent if conditions aren't in your favor, but you also might roll a 30-sided die to attack if you're in a position of superiority. Ability points and even race are randomly determined, rather than chosen. While this might sound limiting, in practice it's been observed that players often end up with characters they never could have imagined on their own and love these unexpected heroes. Classes and races are one and the same. You are a wizard or an elf. There are only 7 classes in DCC RPG. There are only 3 saving throws: fortitude, reflex, and will, and these are not ability saves. A DCC RPG does not have prestige classes, attacks of opportunity, feats, or skill points. There are no backgrounds in DCC RPG, but there are occupations which might suggest what your character did before becoming an adventurer. These occupations suggest rather than codify what types of knowledge and talents a character possesses. No matter what edition you've played before, clerics turn creatures that are unholy to their religion. This may include undead and other creatures. All spells are cast with a spell check, where the caster rolls 1d20, adds certain modifiers, and tries to score. The higher the roll, the more effective the spell's result. Each spell has a unique chart that adjudicates the spell's effects. A wizard may or may not lose the ability to cast spells as they adventure. Instead of memorizing spells or using spell slots, a low roll means the wizard cannot cast the spell for the rest of the day. On a high result, she can cast the spell again. A cleric spell casting works differently from wizard casting. Clerics never lose a spell when it's cast. However, when a cleric casts a spell and fails in their attempt, they may increase their natural failure range. By the end of the day, a cleric may automatically fail on more rolls than just a natural one. There is a critical hit matrix. Higher level characters and martial characters generate critical hits more often and roll on more deadly result tables. You can burn off ability points to enhance die rolls. All characters can burn luck, and wizards and elves can burn other abilities. Gameplay in the Dungeon Crawl Classics role playing. Game starts at 0 level, untrained, uneducated, peasants. Most of these characters die pitiful deaths in a dungeon. We highly suggest each player roll up multiple 0 level characters, at least 3, possibly more. Don't get attached. Characters that survive their first dungeon. Then choose classes and become worth remembering. Character creation in the DCC RPG follows these steps. 1. Roll ability scores. See page 18. 2. Determines 0 level occupation. See page 21. 3. Choose an alignment. See page 24. 4. Purchase equipment. See page 70. 5. Attempt to survive your first dungeon. If you survive and reach 10 XP, you advance to first level. At this point, you choose a class. See page 27. 6. Based on the class chosen, you may know some spells. See page 104. The character creation funnel. Some role-playing games codify game balance in an abundance of character options. The DCC RPG takes an anachronistic approach to this concept by pursuing an even playing field through randomization rather than complexity. The character creation steps that follow generate a play style unlike anything you have experienced in the last 20-odd years, provided you follow the steps precisely. Omit any element, and you'll find that the process does not work. Here is why. DCC RPG generates characters using what the author refers to as a funnel. First, each player generates at least 2, and possibly as many as 4 0-level characters. It is critical that the characters be generated using the process. As described, completely random ability scores, random occupation, random luck modifier, and random equipment. Each player ends up with an assortment of characters who could potentially serve as several different classes. When all characters are generated, have the players go around the table and introduce their 0-level peons to their peers. The funnel takes place in 0-level play. During the first 0-level game, it is expected each player will lose some or most of their characters. When mere peasants and yeomen explore deadly dungeons, a high mortality rate is a matter. Of course, by the end of the first game, the players will be left with a motley crew of survivors, and this group of heroic adventurers becomes the first level party. Using this method of highly random character results, high mortality rates, and player choices as to which of their randomly generated characters takes risks and which stays safe, you, the judge, will find you have a party of randomly generated characters in which the players have agency. There are essentially no opportunities for min-max play, and yet players find themselves attached to their plucky little serfs who have done such amazing deeds at low levels. Their 0-level exploits will define them forever with great deeds completed at great risk. The author strongly encourages you to begin play using the method as described here. Exactly. Give it a chance, you may find you like it. utilizes polyhedrons of unusual shapes. Specifically, it utilizes the standard suite of dice as well as what the author refers to as Zoki dice. As an experienced gamer, you undoubtedly own the following: standard array of dice: D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D20, and D%. TTRPG also makes use of Zoki dice in the following configurations: D3, D5, D7, D14, D16, D24, and D30. You may purchase these dice from your local game store, ask them to. Special order if they do not already stock them. And from www.goodmangames.com and Impact Miniatures.com, as well as other select sites. It is easy to substitute for the funky dice with a regular dice set. For a D3, roll 1d6 and divide by 2. For a D5, roll 1d10 and divide by 2. For a D7, roll 1d8 and re-roll on an 8 4d14 or d16, roll d20 and ignore rolls above the die facing threshold. 4d24, roll 1d12 and 1d6. If the six-sider is odd, add 12 to the 1d12 roll. 4d30, roll 1d10 with a six-sided control die, add plus 0 on 1 to 2, plus 10 on 3 to 4, and plus 20 on 5 to 6. The dice chain. One of the most fun aspects of using funky dice in a rules set is getting to roll those dice. Many traditional RPGs utilize modifiers to dice rolls as a way to express improved success or failure in an action. For example, an attack with an offhand weapon may incur a -4 penalty, or an attack against a motionless opponent may grant a +4 bonus. TTRPG utilizes this traditional modifier system, but also employs a system of swapping out die types where the modifier is sufficiently large. Although D20 is the core die mechanic in the game, there are times when the player may be instructed to roll a D16 or a D24 instead, depending on whether the action has an improved or reduced chance of success. Sometimes there will be multiple dice swaps impacting a die. For example, a spellcaster may be particularly good at one kind of magic, granting them an improved die, and they may also be operating under the influence of a magic item that grants him a further improved die. The system for moving up and down different die types is known as the dice chain. The dice chain is represented as follows: D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, D8, D10, D12, D14, D16, D20, D24, D30. Whenever the rules instruct the player to use an improved die, their dice choice moves one step to the right, culminating in AD30, the largest die that can be used. When the rules instruct the player to use a reduced die, their dice choice moves one step to the left, culminating in AD3, the smallest die that can be used. Multiple steps can switch the die type. 2 or more steps and combine improved and reduced. Results can offset each other. Modifiers to the roll, such as +1 or -2, are applied to the result on the new die type. Ability scores. A character is defined in broad terms by 6 ability scores. For character creation, roll 3d6 for each ability score listed below in the order of strength, is defined in broad ability scores. A character is defined in broad terms by 6 ability scores. For character creation, roll 3d6 for each ability score listed below in the order of strength, agility, stamina, personality, intelligence, and luck. In DCC RPG character creation, you always roll 3d6, and you always roll and apply the scores in that same order. You do not roll more dice and drop the lowest die you do. Not use a point-based by system, and you do not assign ability scores in any order other than that defined above. Why are we so explicit in the declaration of ability score process? Because you are an experienced gamer, and you know many other ways to determine ability scores. The open beta process revealed that ability score generation is the very first rule to be overridden by many players. This is your game, and you should feel free to adapt it as you wish. We do encourage you to buck tradition and try at least one game using the precise method described here, 3d6. Straight down the line, it's a blast from the past and something you probably haven't attempted in a decade or more. However, should you decide to house rule otherwise, we expect this to be the place you begin. Your character's score of 3 to 18 includes a modifier as shown on Table 1-1. This modifier applies to select roles as described. Strength, physical power for lifting, hurling, cutting, and dragging. Your strength modifier affects melee attack and damage rolls. Note that a successful attack always does a minimum of 1 point of damage regardless of strength. Characters with a strength of 5 or less can carry a weapon or a shield, but not both. Agility, balance, grace, and fine motor skills, whether in the hands or the feet. Your agility modifier affects armor, class, missile fire attack rolls, initiative rolls, and reflex, saving throws, as well as the ability to fight with a weapon in each hand. Stamina, endurance, resistance to pain, disease, and poison. Your stamina modifier affects hit points, even at level 0, and fortitude saving throws. Note that a character earns a minimum of 1 hit point per character level, regardless of stamina. Characters with a stamina of 5 or less automatically take double damage from all poisons and diseases. Personality, charm, strength of will, persuasive talent. Personality affects willpower saving throws for all characters. Personality is vitally important to clerics, as it affects the ability to draw upon divine power and determines the maximum spell level they can cast, as shown on Table 1-1. Intelligence, ability to discern information, retain knowledge, and assess complex situations. For wizards, intelligence affects spell count and maximum spell level, as noted on Table 1-1. For all characters, intelligence affects known languages, as described in Appendix L. Characters with an intelligence of 7 or less can speak only common, and those with an intelligence of 5 or less cannot read or write. Luck, right place, right time, favor of the gods, good fortune, or hard-to-define talent. Players would be well advised to understand the goals of gods and demons that shape the world around them, for they are but pawns in cosmic struggle, and their luck on this mortal plane can be influenced by the eternal conflict that rages around them. Luck affects several elements of the game as follows. After rolling 3d6 to determine a player's luck score, roll on Table 1-2 to determine which roll is affected by the character's luck modifier. This lucky roll is modified by the character's starting 0 level luck modifier, for good or bad, in addition to all other normal modifiers. In some cases, the lucky roll is completely useless, because the character chooses a class where it is not applicable. A note that the lucky roll modifier does not change over time as the character's luck changes. For example, if a character's luck modifier is +1 and their lucky roll is spell checks, they receives a +1 modifier to all spell checks henceforth. This modifier does not change if their luck score changes, but the character's luck modifier affects other rolls in the game: critical hits, fumbles, corruption, and select other rolls, as described henceforth. In addition, luck modifies a different element of play for each character class, as described in the class descriptions. A characters can burn off luck to survive life or death situations. Any character can permanently burn luck to give a one-time bonus to a roll. For example, you could burn 6 points of luck to get a +6 modifier on a roll, but your luck score is now 6 points lower. Characters can make luck checks to attempt feats that succeed based on luck alone. The judge will provide the specifics of any attempt, but the attempt is usually resolved by rolling equal to or less than the character's luck score on 1d20. For all characters, luck may be restored over the course of their adventures, and this restoration process is loosely linked to the character's alignment. Characters that act against their alignment may find themselves suddenly unlucky. Those who swear an oath to a patron of their newly desired alignment may find the change easier. Thieves and halflings have a particular affinity with luck. These classes renew their luck score at a defined rate as discussed in their class descriptions. Saving throws. The TTRPG uses 3 saving throws: fortitude, reflex, and willpower. To make a saving throw, a character rolls 1d20, adds their modifiers, and compares the result to a target number, DC. If the result is equal to or greater than the DC, the save is made. If not, dire effects may ensue. Fortitude represents resistance to physical threats, such as poisons, gases, acids, and stunning damage. A character's stamina modifier influences their fort save. Reflex represents resistance to reaction-based threats, such as ducking a swinging axe trap, leaping aside as a doorway collapses, and twisting away from a dragon's flaming breath. A character's agility modifier influences their reflex save. Willpower represents resistance to mind-influencing threats, such as spells that charm or control, psychic effects that cause sleep or hypnosis, and mental domination. Character's personality modifier influences their will save. All 0-level characters start with a base modifier of +0 to all saving throws, which is subsequently influenced by their ability modifiers. As characters gain class levels, their saving throws increase. Languages. All characters know the common tongue. For each point of intelligence modifier, a character knows 1 additional language associated with the circumstances of their upbringing. These additional languages are established at 0 level. Dwarves, elves, and halflings within 8+ automatically know their racial languages as well. Upon advancing to 1st level, a character may learn additional languages. Thieves learn a secret language called Demi-humans learn 1 additional language. Wizards learn 1 additional language per point of int modifier. Additional languages commonly known include those of centaurs, giants, gnomes, goblins, and kobolds. Wizards may know magical languages and the animal tongues. More details on languages can be found in Appendix L. Page 21. 0 level. All characters start at 0 level. Most will die in a dungeon, alone and unknown. The few who survive eventually choose a class in which to advance. All 0-level characters start with the following: a 1d4 hit points modified by stamina, a 5d12 copper pieces, a 0 XP, a 1 randomly determined piece of equipment, see Table 3-4, a 1 randomly determined occupation, a based on the occupation, the possession of 1 weapon and training in its use, possession of some trade goods, a +0 modifier to attack rolls and all saving throws. Note that 0-level characters use a crit die of 1d4 on crit. Table on. As the character earns experience points, their XP total advances. When their XP total reaches 10, they may choose a class. Occupation. Your character once toiled away at mundane tasks, and their family and peers still do. Whether alongside their family or apprentice to a master, a character's former occupation, provides a set of skills. These skills may be useful to a character only as a fallback when they emerge crippled from the dungeon, but they are useful nonetheless. These skills also include training in a rudimentary weapon of some kind. Roll the percent on table 1-3 to determine a character's background. Unless noted otherwise, the character is human. Note that a character's occupation need not be determined randomly. If a player has a strong sense of the character's background, they should feel free to use it. Starting trained. Weapon and trade goods can be determined thematically. With the judge's approval. Demi-humans at level 0. Characters whose 0 level result includes a demi-human race must advance in class as that demi-human. For example, a dwarven miner levels up as a dwarf. 0 level demi-humans are able to utilize select racial traits as follows. Dwarves have infravision and a base speed of 20 foot. Elves are sensitive to iron and have heightened senses. And halflings have infravision and a base speed of 20 foot. Refer to the dwarf, elf, and halfling class descriptions for more information on these abilities. 0 level demi-humans speak common plus their racial language with additional languages gained as they level up, just as all characters gain improved abilities and sometimes additional languages. When they reach level 1 demi-human, characters polish their natural talents through adventuring. Weapon training. All 0 level characters are trained in the one weapon they possess from their former occupation. If a 0 level character handles multiple weapons over their career, they are considered trained in the last weapon they fought with. First level, a character gains training in additional weapons based on the class they choose. Generally, using a weapon without training imposes an attack penalty. However, this penalty is waived for 0 level characters. It is assumed that they're naturally poor combat abilities reflect equal incompetence with the martial use of all weapons. Not to mention that in playtest applying, the attack penalty increases the 0 level death rate to absurd proportions. Trade goods. Novice adventurers typically hail from mundane backgrounds. The economics of a feudal setting involve more barter than coinage. The typical farmer or woodcutter may sustain their family for years of trade without ever setting eye on a metal coin. All 0 level characters start with trade goods of some kind, as indicated on Table 1-3. These may be useful in the dungeon or may provide a starting point for trading up to a better status in life. In addition to their trade goods, each 0 level character starts with one randomly determined piece of adventuring equipment. Roll 1d24. On Table 3-4, page 73, for each character, you will discover that 0 level characters individually possess almost no useful equipment. Begin play with a properly sized party, at least 15 PCs, and you will quickly learn what wealth by attrition means and how it applies to low-level play. Alignment. In the beginning, there was the void where the old ones dreamed. In their dreams were law and chaos inherent, forces of unity and entropy. Through endless opposition, these forces of unity and entropy elected champions who became gods, who in turn formed planes of existence that reflected their principles. On one such plane resides your trivial existence, tiny next to the vastness of Aerith, even tinier next to the vastness of the cosmos. but you are connected back to the greater universe and the endless struggle. By a fundamental choice, do you back the forces of law or the forces of chaos? Alignment is a choice of values. In its simplest form, it determines behavior. In higher forms, it determines allegiance to a cosmic force. Characters choose an alignment at zero level, and this choice determines their options for the rest of their lives. Alignment functions on many levels, but there are two primary extremes: lawful and chaotic, with a balance of neutrality between. A character chooses one of these three alignments at zero level. Lawful characters believe fundamentally in unity and prioritize the values of humanity, order, authority, loyalty, and charity. They support organized institutions and do what is right. They have a moral conscience that points them toward the appropriate action. Fundamentally lawful. Characters choose the path of humanity over the path of supernatural dominance. At higher levels, lawful characters find themselves interacting with celestials, angels, demigods, and powerful lords of law. In mundane life, there are many shades of lawful behavior, and not all lawful. Characters agree on the same course of action at any time, though they invariably unite when humankind is threatened by outside forces. Chaotic characters believe fundamentally in entropy and seek constantly to undermine or rule those around them. They are willing to disrupt the natural order of things, including established governments, guilds, and relationships, if they see a material benefit in doing so. They are open to agreements with supernatural powers, even if such agreements risk the primacy of humanity by allowing strange beings into the material plane. Fundamentally chaotic. Characters choose the path of greatest personal power and success over any greater principle. At higher levels, chaotic. Characters find themselves aligned with demons and devils, sinister monsters, extraplanar creatures, and the supernatural. Chaos lords. In mundane life, chaotic behavior covers a wide spectrum of chicanery, subterfuge, aggression, and power politics, and chaotic characters are always looking for an advantage over their peers. Neutral characters have not taken a stand between law and chaos. Neutrality is the balance of nature, the timelessness of eternity, and the nothingness of space. It can also reflect the neutrality of those who came before law and chaos. The old ones, the great Cthulhu, and the empty void, and the emptiness of the time before gods. Neutrality between law and chaos can reflect a measured morality, balancing costs and benefits without strong principles one way or the other. It can also reflect ambivalence or indifference. Fundamentally, neutral characters make choices based not on loyalty, values, or self advantage, but by evaluating each and every opportunity that comes along. At higher levels, neutral characters find themselves aligned with elementals, extraplanar undead, and astral and ethereal beings. The eternal struggle between law and chaos is real. Gods and demons battle on other planes for superiority, and the actions of man give those entities power. Make your choice carefully, for it will become increasingly important as you become more powerful.